Ready?
All right.
Hey everybody, we're Brian and Rachel Goulet here. This is a Goulet Q&A. This is our first one that we've ever done together. Maybe we'll do more. Maybe not.
We'll see how it goes.
We've talked a lot about right time and stuff in previous Q&As, and because this is kind of a similar format video, just kind of low-key hanging out thing. And Rachel and I did almost 100 right times together.
Usually
live
at home,
broadcasts.
Sometimes in our garage.
It was probably about 100 hours.
Then we had a
footage.
mouse, so we didn't do that anymore.
Yeah. Bringing up that mouse. Yeah. So there's a dynamic here that Rachel and I have together that everybody seemed to really enjoy. So
I think they like the giggles.
Yeah. But so we got.
But for real, I actually do work.
Yes, very much so. She does a lot of work. That's why she's not in the videos as much these days.
Yeah.
And right time is just too much for us to do anymore. But I thought it'd be fun to do this little Q&A here together. Actually, when I originally committed to it last week, I didn't intend on making Rachel do the video.
You mean you committed without letting me know first?
Yes. Well, I originally was just going to do hey, inside the mind, inside my mind. And I was like, well, Rachel's really, really important to what goes on around here. I don't want to leave her out. That's where I was going with that. So I had the best of intentions.
So then I watched the video. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this.
Well, I was going to do it alone, but then it was it really
the people wanted what the people wanted.
I mean, yeah, everybody was asking for you, so Rachel's being a trooper here and enjoying it today.
Hi.
So, yeah. Anyway, so we got some questions. We didn't get a ton of questions. I was actually thinking we'd get more.
We're going to talk for a while, so it is okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just get real.
Okay. So before we get all into the questions, we didn't get a lot of questions, but we got some really deep ones that we can really dive in on. So
we should just give a surface level history of who we are, how long we've been doing this sort of thing.
That's what I was thinking.
If you're brand new, if you haven't been with us a while, who are we?
So basically, we're the Goulet Pen Company. We have been around for, in our current form, 4 years.
In November.
Yeah, we sell fountain pens, ink, paper, writing paraphernalia online. We have a blog, obviously, videos, all that good stuff that we've been doing pretty much since the beginning of the business.
Started out the two of us. Before that, he was making pens. We have a whole story of how that evolved into, and actually that gets in our first question. So I'm not gonna go there, but we've really been working together for probably 6 years on this business. 4 years in its current form with the online retailing. It was the two of us for a while. Then we started hiring employees about 2.5 years ago. Well, and started in our home, moved out of our home.
What's funny is, we talk about the pen turning days. That was really a whole different business than what we're in now. Even though it's still pens, it was like a craft hobby kind of thing.
The gift crowd instead of the personal enjoyment crowd.
And that really spurred from my wanting to work with my hands
and
just
make
have a
something.
Hobby. I did. I was watching Norm Abrams' New Yankee Workshop all the time, and I was really jazzed up to build some antique furniture.
Let's just get into the first question.
Okay. I was actually thinking I have some of my pens right there. I should go grab them, but okay.
Well, they're all the rejects. We didn't keep any of the good ones. If we'd had the foresight, we would have kept some of the good ones.
Yeah.
But they got sold.
Let's get to the questions here. Okay, Rori Rants in an email said, did Goulet Pens, there's several questions, so bear with me. Did Goulet Pens evolve organically from your hobby of turning pens? Or did you and Rachel sit down and create a vision for what you wanted a business to become from the beginning? Did you do work on what you really wanted to do with your lives, or is Goulet Pens one of those things where opportunity met need and it just happened? Now, she did clarify further in there that she realized there's a lot of hard work, that things didn't just happen, but I think I get the intention of what you're talking about there.
It's kind of this perfect intersection of opportunity and hard work. I think that's what makes someone successful, is just having something to bring to the table and having the opportunity. Yeah. There's a lot of people who work hard, but if you don't get that right opportunity, it's not going to be your breakthrough moment.
Well, and for us in the beginning, that's really what it was too. Back when we were making pens, we sunk a ton of money into materials,
even the pen
equipment.
Making was total happenstance. It was never intended to be a business.
That's true.
You were making them as a hobby. We were in an apartment, and he had
really just wanted to work with my hands.
Extension cords out the window to the balcony because that was the only place you could have sawdust. And we have pictures on the blog. It's pretty crazy. It was our first year of marriage.
In fact, I bet
I don't know how you got away with it.
I'll talk to Tyler and see if we can overlay some of those pictures on this video. I bet he could do that. But yeah, I was totally breaking some zoning codes and stuff. It was a hobby,
but you were doing it a couple weeks. And I know we've told the story before, but sorry if you've heard it before, but I'll try to be brief. I was working, my corporate job at the time.
Pulling the wagon all the way.
My dad also, was at the company. I got the job on my own merits, but, he was there too.
Yep.
Anyway, we were showing my dad, like, the pens that Brian was making. And he's like, we give away pens every year for Christmas to our corporate clients. He's like, you should bring some in and show them to so-and-so who's in charge.
I'd literally been making pens for, 2 or 3 weeks at that point. I barely knew what I was doing.
In retrospect, they really weren't that great.
They were pretty terrible, but...
But we went, and they saw this potential. We're like, all right, we'll order 100. We're like, okay, I guess
it was 120. I think that was the first order.
But you'd made like 8 or 10 to date.
I think I'd made about 8.
So we're like, okay, I guess we kind of need to be a business now.
So we quickly
put together a website, and we need to figure out how to, get a payment and where to deposit it and order supplies. And so eventually that just kind of morphed into this pen making business. We had a website. I was so excited. I've been doing web programming since I was 14. So I was so excited to like build an e-commerce store, and I was like, oh, we could have this option where like you choose your material and choose your this and choose your engraving, and it would show you what it would look like.
We can give all these options.
And I calculated like 28,000 options. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous.
The more options, the better. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Long story short, we enjoyed it more as a hobby. Never made us money. We had trouble with repeat business other than that corporate order because it's a good gift pen. But
nobody knows who you are after they give the gift.
And fountain pen enthusiasts really didn't like the pens because they weren't weighted well. The nibs weren't great. We didn't know anything about fountain pens.
Fountain pens weren't even on our radar at that time. Honestly, we didn't know anything about fountain pens.
Enter the DC Super Show of 2009.
Yes, I attended this Super Show with one of my pen making buddies. We were looking to go to the show to scope it out to possibly get a table to sell our handmade pens for the following year.
We're like, oh yeah, we'll just stick a fountain pen nib on it and people will like it. And we didn't know anything about fountain pens.
I just, I was really active on the International Association of Pen Turners. It's like a pen turning forum. And there were some people that I saw some fountain pens on there, and I was like, a lot of the pen kits that you can buy when you're making pens can be a rollerball or fountain pen.
And they're very intriguing, but we didn't know anything about them.
I didn't know anything about them. I was very intimidated about fountain pens. And so when I was going to that show, I was like, well, it's a fountain pen show.
I'll learn something.
I guess I'll pick up a bottle of ink and I'll just try out pens. I was like, maybe I'll buy a Rhodia pad or something because I've heard of Rhodia. Ink. I did buy ink.
Your first bottle of ink.
I did, yes.
Diamine Shine Blue.
Yeah, and actually that kind of led into the whole, motivation for us creating ink samples and the swab shop and all that.
Because it was not what you thought it was.
No, well they had someone there who was swabbing up the color, taking a Q-tip, dipped the swab, and showed me the color, and I was like, oh, that looks great, a nice dark blue. That's what I wanted. I, got a thing for blue.
Didn't let it dry.
It wasn't dry yet, so it changes color a lot when it dries.
Well, now things look different.
Absolutely. And so even though I was looking at the ink, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. This is what I want. I bought a bottle, and I got home, and I was like, oh, this isn't quite what I wanted. Now, China Blue's an okay color.
Full 80 mil, right?
I bought the full 80 mil. Yeah, back in the old gold box, if you remember those. So anyway, but that stuck with us, and that leads more into what went on later. But it was really from that show. There wasn't any one particular thing that happened at that show, but I honestly had like an epiphany at that show that I didn't know anything about fountain pens, literally nothing.
But you saw this community of people who are passionate about this thing, and you're like,
there was, but even that wasn't it. It wasn't like, oh, there's so many people here, I got to get in on this. It wasn't even like that. I literally went to that show and I just had an epiphany, just really out of the, almost out of the blue. That was just like, I need to learn about fountain pens.
We need to get into this somehow.
Yeah, and if you look on Fountain Pen Network and look at the date that I signed up for my account, it was that night when I got home from that pen show.
August 2009.
It was that night. I just got on the Fountain Pen Network and I was like, I need to learn everything I can about fountain pens. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Didn't have a clue, but as we learned more and more, we figured out like, oh, there's this whole community of people that are into fountain pens. That's really cool.
So we got involved.
What could we do for them?
Yeah, we got involved in FPN. Got linked up on Twitter and some other places too. We were just talking to people like, what is it that you want that you're having trouble getting online?
Yeah.
Because we already had a website. So in our minds we were like, what can we sell in addition to our handmade pens that would help bring attention to our pens so that we could sell our pens.
Yeah, it was really just to try and drive like more traffic, more people to our site to buy my pens.
So we started out, we hooked up with Exiclair, and we, in November of 2009, got our first order for some Jeroboam inks and some Rhodian and some Clairefontaine. And we're like, all right, like, we're going to sell paper and ink, and then people will love our pens. People didn't care about our pens. They just wanted the paper and the ink. They went crazy for the paper and the ink. We're like, you don't have to make it, and you just list it online and sell it and ship it out. That's pretty cool.
Well, it's a very oversimplified thing, but basically it was like back in the pen making, I was like, oh, I have to make everything, and then I sell the pen, and I don't get paid any time.
Keep in mind, I was working a corporate day job and was pregnant with our first son.
Yes.
I was
pretty pregnant. You were 7 months pregnant.
7 months pregnant at that point.
Yeah.
So we're also trying to figure out, like, okay, like, this pen making business made us no money. It made us negative money. It was the sinking ship, as I called it. And it was a harsh reality to realize that, like, you know what, like, I can't quit my day job, and, like, we can't make a living on this.
Well,
this
see,
is
that's
not
the thing.
working.
When we started it out too, it wasn't even like when we started selling the paper and ink. I didn't realize, or didn't want to realize, several months in, that the pen making wasn't going to happen. And if you look at my oldest blog videos, you can see I was using my handmade pens and showcasing my workshop in those videos as kind of a last-ditch effort to get some attention to my pens, because I really had poured my heart and soul and thousands of hours into building my craft.
Yeah, once we really started using them and talking to people, we understood why they were beautiful, but why they weren't practical for an everyday writer. They're great to sit on a desk and look beautiful, but like the weight wasn't right. People didn't like the metal grip, the nibs. We didn't know anything about nibs.
And then it was after our son was born, and I was kind of looking at it like, okay, if this business is really going to survive,
I went on maternity leave.
I need to wake up.
I hated my job, and I originally the plan was for me to go back to work, and Brian was going to be a stay-at-home dad, and somehow build the business to the point whereby our second kid, a couple years down the road, I could finally quit my job and be home with kids. That was the dream. And I got to the point, my maternity leave ran out, and I was like, I can't go back. I didn't think I would be one of those moms. I was ready to go back to work. I love my job. I was planning to be a stay-at-home dad. I thought I loved my job, but then when I realized I actually didn't love my job, but I enjoyed working. And, I was good at what I did, so I thought I would go back. But then I fell in love with our son and bonded and all that stuff. All the things.
Darn bonding.
I thought I would be strong. I thought I would resist it. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be the career woman. But, like, I couldn't leave him. So I decided, you know what, like, we're going to live off of savings for a while we figure things out. I got a part-time job working from home a couple hours a week just to, like, help us get by, because we were making no money from the Goulet Pen Company.
That's right.
But we worked. We said, you know what, like, it's time to go all in. Like, we're either going to make this work or it's not. Like, we can't have this be this thing that is...
It was a calculated risk at the time. It wasn't completely careless. But
we started carrying ink samples and things like that. So
we
it's like we were starting to build some traction.
We had the blog going. We could tell that the blog thing was going to work.
Ink swabs.
Yeah, we could tell that there was a need for what we were doing, and we were motivated and inspired to be able to put in the long hours.
It wasn't to the point where we could draw a paycheck, but we saw a good pattern. So we went all in. We did it. By October of that year, we finally drew our first paycheck, which was exhilarating.
Yeah.
I ended up working 40 hours a week for my other job to help us, get by. But eventually, by the end of that year, that was 2010, I was able to quit my other job, and we went both full-time, which was the dream. The dream was for us to both be full-time.
That's right.
And be with our kids.
And it was exhilarating.
It was.
We were thrilled. We had visions of keeping the business in the house for decades, because that's how my parents they had a business in the house for about 10 years when I was growing up as a kid, and I envisioned like Joseph and Ellie helping us to make ink samples in our house while we're working, kind of thing. But that actually kind of leads us into
we had this
one of our other
weird period too in that year where we did the paper and the ink. We stopped making our handmade pens. And all we had was paper and ink, and we were called the Goulet Pen Company. And we're like...
Yeah, I think I even did a blog post about that.
Yeah, we're like, should we change our name?
I did a blog post like, is it weird the Goulet Pen Company doesn't sell pens?
And around that time, we were like, should we carry noodlers? Like, some people have asked for noodlers. Should we do it? Should we not? We've heard weird things about it because there's all these crazy rumors out there.
Oh, yeah.
And we debated for a while, and then finally we decided to do it. And then he introduced the Flex pen, and we carried pens, and we've never looked back since.
That's right.
That was the catalyst we needed to just get into the pen world.
Well, that wasn't the Flex pens. These were the regular
the
nib
nib
pens.
creeper,
Yeah,
like the
the
original
Flex
nib
pens
creeper.
were later.
Only a couple months later.
But it was
we
the
knew they were
regular-
coming, and we were intrigued by it.
But we'd never seen them or anything. That wasn't the motivating factor. It was seeing those little $14 nib creepers, the regular ones.
$14 piston pen. That was.
And we were like,
really
well,
cool.
if we were going to try a pen, this would
Well,
be the
I think
one.
what it was is they sent us a couple. They're like, just see what you can do with
They sent me
them.
one, a mandarin yellow.
Yeah.
It's really not my favorite color, even.
But it
I
has
saw
a
the
purpose.
potential. I saw the potential, and I thought that was something that we could
And
do.
goodness, we have not looked back since. So
It's true.
the answer to that question is it kind of happened with a lot of hard work, with recognizing trends, with making smart decisions about when it was time to let go of things that weren't working, with improving what we could, and just embracing and leaning into the growth and the change. And the same thing happened when we had to move out of our house because we hired employees, and we were no longer up to county codes and ran out of parking in our driveway and the bathroom in our house and things like that. It was at the point where like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And, if we're going to do this, like, it's not going to be half-hearted. We're going to go all in. Like, if we're going to grow, we're going to grow. Let's do it. So.
Yeah. So I would say we didn't like sit down and say, this is our business strategy. This is our 5-year business plan.
We made a business plan when we first started up pen making, and it changed a month later. Like, that's the thing with writing things down and, like, having formal business plans. You can't, like, with the internet, with things change faster than 5 years.
Yeah, it's
Twitter
true.
and Facebook had just started being a thing.
More important than having a business plan per se is having a vision, a dream,
a goal,
a passion,
a goal.
Yeah.
And our struggle was, we met the initial goal early. We had to set new ones, and we're still setting
continuing
new ones.
having to set new ones. Absolutely. So,
which is hard.
I wouldn't say that everything has just happened. I would say there have been key things that have happened that we have made the most of those opportunities as they've come along. Yes. So that was the first question. All right, look at that, a whole thing, a whole ooze tube full.
We're not in a good.
It's all right.
It's
all right. Okay.
All right.
I think everybody will understand if this video runs a little longer. I don't think anybody will mind.
And if you hate
now you know why write time would run like an hour and a half every night.
Again.
And we talk over each other a lot too.
Sorry.
You probably noticed that. All right.
What you get?
Jessica B. in an email said, since you are a literal mom and pop business, where did you guys meet? You shared a lot of backstory, but I don't recall that being addressed. We've done a couple blog posts, not any videos, I don't think, talking about it too much. We may have peppered it in here and there. But
and we got a big history, so we won't go over the whole thing. So we'll rewind back to 2001. We were seniors in high school.
Yep.
Is right after September 11th and all that. We were seniors in high school.
Mm-hmm. We met at a state choir singing event.
Virginia Honors Choir.
We were from different high schools. We were, we auditioned for this thing. All the seniors in the state got to audition, and if you are rocking it hard enough, you get to go to this thing.
Like the top, 30 from each voice part or something like that?
I think it was 20.
20? Oh, no, maybe it's less than that.
No, it was 10, wasn't it? It was 80 total in the group. And it was 10 for each part, 10 or 1, 10 or 2.
It's around 100 some people.
I'm pretty sure it was 10 from each part.
Something like that. Anyway, it was thing we had to audition. It was a weekend event. It was just 3 days. We were both the only ones from our schools. No one else in our school got in.
That's right.
I knew a couple other people from my other schools in my area that were there. You didn't know anybody.
I didn't know anybody.
So the first night, we had all our rehearsals and stuff. It's at the Homestead Resort in Hot Springs, which is super nice, and we can never afford to actually go there on our own. I don't know how it was paid for, but it was amazing.
It's a hotel that was built before the Revolutionary War.
It's amazing.
Or during the Revolutionary War, I think. Anyway.
I don't know how that worked. Anyway, so we were there, and the first night we had dinner, and then we had we could have free time, and I was in the bowling alley. I had met up with
no. Back up just 1 second. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a fairy tale Sonic kind of story here. So literally, I am not joking. I'd come in, and all the guys are kind of sitting down.
It's you want to back it up further. I almost didn't even go to my audition because I was sick.
Well, that's true.
And the fact that I still got in despite being sick was pretty miraculous. It was meant to be.
That's right. But anyway, once we were actually at the event, I am not joking with you. We were all sitting in, just kind of filing into our seats, and it was all the guys were kind of sitting on one side and all the girls were on the other.
In a room, we had the director in the middle, and we were literally sitting all around him in a circle.
Yeah, and I am not joking.
How did he do that? I guess he kept turning around to conduct?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I am not joking, but when Rachel walked into the room, it was literally like I saw her and no one else. And she was across the room and I couldn't see. And I remember she was wearing, like this black and red shirt kind of thing.
And it was.
I remember
I had
exactly.
a red shirt with a black sweater over top.
Yeah, I remember it. And I remember just being like, wow, I got to try and find her later. Because, of course, like, all the guys that are there are just scoping out all the girls.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah. I mean, you got a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds. Yeah, that's going to happen at a 3-day event.
I was single. He was single.
Yeah. Not trying to, get, anything out of the weekend or anything.
Well,
but it's
that's
like,
the sort of thing. Like, it was senior year. We're like, okay, we're all going to college next year. Like, for me, I was like, what's the point of, like, getting a boyfriend or dating? It's like, we're probably going to end up going to separate colleges. And, like, so what's the point? I'm not looking for a boyfriend. Just looking to, meet some people and have fun.
Yeah.
So, bowling alley that night, I met up with my friends who were all guys, by the way. I have more guy friends than girlfriends. I'm just one of those girls.
She's a guy's girl, yeah.
So we're having fun bowling, and he walks in, and I saw him. He was with some other guys, and I was like, wow, he looks totally out of my league. And I was like, you always find it funny, but like for real, you don't understand. This is the man who's so oblivious to every girl who ever had a crush on him, and he was. You've lost a lot of weight, but like when you were in high school, it was.
In high school, yeah, I was 170 pounds. I was as tall as I am now.
Muscular.
Confident. Yeah.
The difference was you were confident. High school guys were all like wimpy and lame and boring, and you were just.
But I was like the sensitive too. I was in show choir. I was in band.
Well, it wasn't
team.
The cocky confidence. It was like I actually know who I am, which for a 17-year-old is just crazy.
Well, that's probably why I never had any luck with girls in high school. Like seriously,
girls like
terrible luck.
And all that stuff. Anyway,
wow,
I saw him.
We're doing a terrible job at not going farther back. Okay.
I just saw him, and I was like, whoa, he's really out of my league. But then he's like looking at me. I was like, is he gonna come talk to me? Fortunately for me, I was working as like a hostess on a restaurant, so I had gotten a little bit out of my shell. I was used to greeting people like, hey, how are you doing? Like, hi, how are you?
Well, what had happened first is I'd come around. We were like taking a lap around the hotel, and I'd come around and I saw you in that group with like 12 guys or something.
Okay, like
it was
8.
Just insane. Okay, 8 guys. Okay. And you're the only girl. And so I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got to be like with one of these guys. Why would she just be this single girl hanging out with a bunch of dudes?
I don't know.
And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. I missed my chance. So then we came back around and I was like, oh, she's still here. Let me size up these guys here. And I looked, and there were a bunch of guys from like the honor school or something like that.
The science and technology school.
Yeah, so they're like kind of a bunch of nerds. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay. And I was like, is she like really hanging on one of these guys? Because high school girls, if they're with one of the guys in the group, she'll be like all over him, and flirting and acting stupid when she bowls and stuff like that. But
I mean, I do act stupid when I bowl.
Well, you had these kind of like ballerina moves.
I was a dancer.
But anyway, I sized up the guys real quick.
I didn't
know any of the guys. I didn't know you, but I was like, what the heck? What have I got to lose? So I just went in there.
You're probably never going to see me again. What's the point?
I just went in there and I was like, hey, I'm Brian. How you doing?
And we just started talking.
And she responded, and I like snatched her out of that group.
I mean, I kept bowling, but I sat down and talked to you in between my moves.
That's right.
So then, like, the whole rest
of the
weekend...
That's so weird. I never did anything like that. Never did anything like that before.
Me either.
Seriously.
It's weird. So the whole rest of the weekend, we were inseparable. We spent all of our breaks talking. We'd look at each other, like, during rehearsals across the room. And by the... we exchanged emails. It was crazy. Like, we both played bass in a band. We had the same amp. Like, the same...
bass guitar amp,
yeah. We had the same amp. Just, like, crazy stuff in common. We're both in show choir and... we were 2 hours apart, different high schools. We had different college aspirations. I wanted to go to, a private school up in Pennsylvania and major in voice, and you were all set to join the Corps Cadets at Virginia Tech and go into the military. So
I had applied for an Army scholarship at that point. I was set on being an Army officer. Right, you were going to go into the military. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. We'll exchange emails and see what happens. So that night, I got home from the event, and there was an email waiting from you.
That's right. I emailed you as soon as I got home.
I was actually on a date with another guy.
Yes.
I was. I mean, it was arranged in advance. I couldn't bail on him. Saw Harry Potter. Anyway. I
wasn't worried. I was like, I don't care about this other guy.
I had to honor my commitments, But anyway, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't really a date. It was just a friend. Yeah. So I got that email, and we started emailing, started talking on the phone, and that was it. So we were long distance for our senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. We went to separate colleges. I ended up going in Virginia, but separate colleges. And about 2 weeks into college, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. I can't do 4 years of this.
Yeah.
And I didn't like where I was. I didn't like my major.
Well,
so.
I had turned down my Army scholarship at that point because I saw the potential of where we were going.
But I was like, you know what, like, I really could marry this person and we would want to start a family, all this stuff. Like, would he really want to go abroad? Because remember, 9/11 had just happened. So we're like, okay, military is like a sure sign you're getting deployed. And is that something we really wanted? I didn't force you. It's
not that I
opened your eyes to the possibility of a family sooner than you anticipated.
I have nothing but respect for our military folks who do that. I just couldn't feel that was right for me. Obviously, this wouldn't have happened if I'd gone that route.
Our business, everything.
Yeah.
So
that was tough.
I transferred to Virginia Tech my sophomore year, and we spent 3 years there together, got engaged, got married after we graduated, and then we've been married for 7 years. So it's been 12 years. 12 years, because this
November, in like a month. That's crazy.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
Wow. Short question, long answer. Okay, so there you go. There's our whole life history. Next question here. Jordan J29 on Ink Nouveau
That's a good question.
How do you balance being a parent with being a business owner? And what role, if any, do your kids play in your day-to-day lives at work? Man, this is a huge one. It's a huge
struggle.
one.
I'll be completely honest. This is the dream for us, but it's really hard. Like, I mean, originally we wanted to just be at home, and I thought, oh yeah, be at home, businesses in the garage sort of thing.
Yeah, you're playing with your kids all the time. They're at home. You're comfortable. That's how I grew up.
I used to do work on the computer while Joseph was in his jumperoo. Like, it was great.
Yeah.
And then we moved, and like our whole world kind of got shifted upside down. And we're like, all right, we resisted.
We resisted.
Well, I had Ellie.
Hiring. We resisted moving out of the house for too long because we were trying to hang on to that original
I had
dream.
Ellie 2 months after we moved out of the house. Like, we literally had a newborn and a 2-year-old and had just moved out of the house. So we made the decisions like, all right.
How did we do that?
I mean, we set up a playroom at work. It was my office. I had a sofa and stuff in there, but I would watch the kids in there, get some work done on my computer. They napped all the time because they were little, so I could still get work done.
Yeah.
Worked a lot at night. I nursed her, during the day. We have a lot of boys here, there's a lot, privacy, a lot of rules about coming into my office and stuff. It was really tough, and somehow we got through that stage, and now they're toddlers, and we were doing potty training, and they're running everywhere.
And originally, too, we didn't have any help watching the kids. We were watching the kids while we were doing everything.
So every time they would nap, when we'd put them to bed at night, because thank goodness they slept through the night from a very early age.
They were both solid sleepers.
So, like,
God gave us just the kids that we needed to be able to get through that time.
So we'd put them to bed at 8 and, like, literally be up till 2 in the morning just getting work done. Like wake up at 8, start all over again.
We put the kids down, and we'd call it our second shift or third shift or whatever. And we would literally put in another hard 5-6 hours after the kids go to bed.
That's how we made it work, because we had to. It was at the point where the business really needed us to work that hard.
No social life. Like, the only time that we went anywhere was to see family.
Or they came to see us.
Well, and if they came to see us, they were watching the kids and we were working, pretty much. Like, I don't want to make it sound like we were workaholics, but we were doing what we had to do.
Like, we had to do it to make it work. And then as soon as you hire employees, like, you are responsible for them bringing a paycheck and paying for their rent, paying for them to have a family. And, that's a responsibility I do not take lightly.
Yeah.
Not to mention our own, financial well-being.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we made it work, got through the baby stage. They're toddlers now, and we have help. Brian's parents are here almost every day of the week, usually like 9 to 3.
Started out just helping like a few hours, and it's just like
just crept into
as things were exploding. I mean,
but they love it. Like, this isn't like a burden. It's like,
oh no, yeah.
Being a grandparent, this is what I'm told at least. It's like all the benefits of being a parent without the responsibilities of having to work and like get by. It's like everything like I wish I could enjoy now, but I'm having to work. They're getting to relive all over again. And of course, like Joseph's a lot like Brian. Like, it's like they're getting to kind of relive having their own kids. Definitely. So they're here most days of the week.
Well, and my parents too, like they had a business in the house when I was a kid, my sister is a kid. And so like for them, they know what it's like to be going through what we're going through. And so, they really appreciate being able to help, being here, being a part of this too.
So the way we balance it is, the answer is it's a struggle. We do our best.
The answer is,
we have lunch every day together. That's really important to us. We see them in the morning. We get them ready. We have breakfast together, this sort of stuff. Anytime we have free time, we stop in, we hang out. Even if it's just, I have 5 minutes, I just need some snuggle time.
Yeah.
And they love it. They love seeing us, and they run around outside, and we see them outside the window playing.
Yeah.
Then they have their nap time, and then we have them the whole rest of the afternoon and have dinner together as a family every night and have the whole evening to play. If we need to let them stay up a little extra to get some extra playtime, it's fine. Yeah. They're great. So, yeah.
But the honest truth is, literally balance is the key word, because, you've got these kids who they need, everything in life to get started out. And then you have this business which started almost the same time that Joseph did when he was born.
It's like a toddler
So we consider this business almost like raising another kid. And it's like a lot of the same needs, and still trying to figure everything out. This business is having to learn everything.
He doesn't have any more potty training accidents.
That's right.
So that's really good. And now we're like, okay, Ellie's going to start soon. But then we'll be out of diapers. That'll be great.
We joke now that our business is, almost coming on almost 4. So it's like just learning how not to poop its pants. It's like there's still so many things that we're learning as business people about how to run this operation. So we're getting there, and it's just every day is just trying to figure out the best way to balance everything. That's the honest truth.
It's hard. Okay. But I wouldn't trade it either.
Yeah, I really can't imagine doing it any other way, honestly.
I mean, it's like, would you rather be a mom or, work? And I was like, I want to do both.
Yeah, I want both. And that's hard, but we're making it happen somehow.
You make sacrifices in both areas.
We're already looking back even 6 months ago or a year ago and how did we get through that?
Well, that's why we have awesome, help now.
Yeah.
So we can still accomplish our business goals without having to do everything ourselves. It's great.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've got some groundwork laid, we're going to move on to another question from Susan from Ink Nouveau. On hindsight, what one thing would you do differently if you were starting your business now?
So I guess this was with the caveat, if we knew then what we knew now.
Right.
Wouldn't have done pen making.
Yeah, we would have skipped that whole stage.
Lost all that money and wasted time on something that didn't get us. It was necessary to get us where we are, but if we could have skipped it.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was really not much of anything that transferred over from the way that we had to run and grow that business to what we're doing now.
Other than practice creating a website.
Yeah, but even that, it was a whole different kind of deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you got some skills out of that, but for me with pen making, it was nothing transferred really. No customers transferred over from the pen making thing.
We weren't involved in social media. We didn't, we weren't blogging.
Yeah, so it really wasn't much.
It would have been great if we could have just done this sooner.
Yeah.
Other things I might have done differently, hired help sooner. We resisted it for a while.
But
then we were like, man, we're up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., some weekend nights working on ink samples. And especially we started Ink Drop, it was still the two of us, and it grew way beyond we thought it would. And we're just like, we can't keep this up.
Yeah.
And we waited too long to hire help because we were like, oh, it'll change everything. It won't be us anymore. But it's it
got to the point where it was like, oh, okay, well, we don't mind it changing now because we're working 18-hour days.
We can't handle this anymore. And even as we've grown, there have been some times where we didn't hire people. We got into crisis mode before we made a hire. Getting help with the administrative work.
That's a tough thing too.
Photography even.
Being in this business, the fountain pen stuff is so specialized. You can't just find somebody who knows.
And we're not great at letting stuff go either. We're very protective over things that we've built, and we want to maintain the quality. It
all depends on your perspective. I think that we've gone from in 2.5 years we've gone from just having you and I to now we have 15 people that are here helping us.
In addition to us, yeah.
Yeah, so you say we're not good at letting things go.
No, I'm saying it was a struggle. We should have done it sooner, but it's hard to hard to let things go.
It has been very intentional. It is not natural for us to want to do that. We've had to fight a lot of ourselves about wanting to have our hands on every step of the process.
The only other thing, I know it's supposed to be one thing, but here's a third thing. There have been some things along the way that we've had to redo. We had to redo all of our swabs because we didn't scan them in at the proper resolution and color profile and things like that.
Yeah.
There's some photography, some things we're having to go back and reshoot because we didn't know as much about.
We've redone almost all of our photography.
I know. We've had to redo stuff because we didn't know as much about lighting or as much of, or this resolution changed on this new computer, so now we got to change it because we saved it at too small an image.
Honestly, when we started out, that we were using all stock photography for everything, and the site looked like a hodgepodge because every manufacturer has different stuff. Some don't even have pictures.
That's true.
So you'd take some with our video camera that we're using.
They're all pointing different directions and different backgrounds.
It was really bizarre.
Really small,
and so we kind of realized we need to do our own photography. And I didn't know anything about photography, not a single thing.
My sister did. She helped you.
Your sister had gone through photography school.
A week of photography school.
No,
when we started out.
No. She had gone through photography school. She went through the whole thing.
We were still using stock images.
She had like just completed photography school.
Oh, we outsourced ink swabs to her for a while. Like I remember sitting in her bedroom, like in my parents' house, and she's like scanning and
adjusting. Yeah, she's the one who kind of helped me to do them too. You know, and so that was a big learning curve. Just photography in general it took me years to get that up to speed.
Yeah.
And now, thankfully, I know enough, but I just, you know, I'm more than happy to have Tyler do it. He does a great job, you know. But anyway, question. So yeah, okay, yeah, we're trucking along here. We're not doing too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll run along. Don't worry. Just go get it.
As long as we don't run out of tape.
Pause it and get yourself a coffee, whatever. Okay, so David B. on Facebook, you said, can you share your thoughts on why you do not have or want a brick and mortar retail store? That's an interesting question. We get asked that a lot.
We've gotten that a lot. It's very...
Or, you know, why we don't do pen shows, too. That's kind of a different question, but a lot of people ask us that as well.
Sure, which we did one before. Yeah, brick and mortar, it's tough. It's almost a different business. It isn't and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's the same products, but the way you sell, your audience, the way you display and store things, it's really would be like a separate business almost.
Yeah, it really kind of is.
For us, I think the number one reason is we are not in an area that I think would support it. I think the most successful stores, the ones who are still in business, are in highly populated areas who have the right...
Like major cities like D.C., New York, Chicago, Dallas.
Even then, that's like not a recipe for success. I've seen so many close their doors in the last couple of years, and I can't say that's because they're brick and mortar, but your overhead definitely is higher. There is certainly overhead we have here. There's a lot of overhead we have here, especially as you hire employees. We have a space, heating, cooling, all it. Insurance, all it.
Yeah, we
fun
basically
stuff I don't want to have to get into.
We pretty much have all the overhead that a brick and mortar store does, except our
square footage
is cheaper because we're like an office warehouse in a nondescript area.
We have more shipping expenses and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you ever think like, oh, an internet business is so much lower overhead, well, in the beginning,
when we were like in a bedroom,
when you're in a bedroom,
house,
but if you're running a legit like full operation with a staff and everything,
you have a building.
Yeah, it's really not.
I mean, these things cost money. I'm kidding.
I think it was like $12. And this one I bought when I was 8, so come on.
I know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So I bought that personally anyway. I didn't have the business buy that.
So this desk was free. It was a hand-me-down. We do a lot of yard sale hand-me-down around here to keep costs down.
Our decor is thrifty. That's our
free
thing.
Yes, we'll take it.
Yeah.
So the short answer is our area, it's a little more rural. There's a Paradise Pen in like a posh area of Richmond, but it's not really our scene. We're not really the posh people. Our business approach is a lot more casual, a lot more we have people who do live locally who come in and they pick up their orders and we talk to them. It's not a huge percentage of our business by any means. I would rather spend my time spreading the word of fountain pens as wide and far as we possibly can. Yeah. The internet is that beautiful virtual community of people where you can just, put one video out and have thousands of people watch it and learn from it.
Yeah.
I love that face-to-face conversation or, when we talk on the phone or things like that, but the internet is just this powerful tool that allows us to just have so much more impact than we could if we were just limiting ourselves geographically.
And the opportunity that we always saw with the internet was to use it as a megaphone instead of a mask or a curtain. A lot of storefronts will completely be
web storefronts.
Web storefronts will be completely faceless, and you have no idea who's behind it, who's running it, what the story is there. It's just a web presence where transactions happen.
So what
we saw it as something completely different. We saw it as, man, you can create these videos and you can show everybody like how really into this stuff you are.
You can talk to
teach
people on Twitter
things. And you can engage with people like never before because of these powerful tools. That is incredible. That's like taking the best of what a brick and mortar store has, that personal interaction, that experience from the owner, all of that stuff, and just amplifying it through a web presence. And then, like a video, if you're talking face-to-face with somebody in a store, they're only going to remember about 10% of the conversation. But if you have a video and you record it, you can rewatch it to the point where you memorize every subtlety of the video And as me as the owner or whatever, the person doing the video, I produce that video once and you can watch it 1,000 times. And I can keep on making more and more and more videos.
Now that's like
the power of the internet.
One mechanism, of course. Now, it's not to say that there isn't a place for brick and mortar stores. And like that's one thing we struggle with is like you can't hold the pen in your hand. You can't try it on your paper with every possible combination of ink. Like that is really hard. We've developed tools to try to overcome that. The Pen Plaza showing comparative sizes by publishing dimensions and weights, the swabs, selling ink samples, like all those ways to try to overcome that gap that you have by not being in person.
Yeah. It is tough, and that's something we always try to be conscious of, is trying to bridge the gap.
Well, we even think through, like, what does that mean for our returns policy? Like, there are some, I'm not, like, naming names or anything, but there are some web vendors who, like, if you have inked it, they will not take it back. Yeah. If you've inked up a pen, or others who charge, a crazy restocking fee. That's not just
pens. That's a lot of online stores will have like no return policy, or you can't open it, or whatever.
And we have to be reasonable, because by selling online, we have to keep our prices competitive, but it can't be. We have to stay healthy enough to grow. So what we've done is we have what we call an empathetic returns policy. So, if you try it for 30, actually we're going to be changing it soon to 90 days. You try it and it's just not right for you, like, we'll be happy to take it back. We'll work with you to find the right thing for you. And if you haven't even used it at all, like, no problem, like happy to take it back.
Yeah.
So just trying to bridge that gap, and then all the other tools that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's not to say, I'm not going to say never. It's just certainly not on, like, even our 10-year plan. Like, it's just not on our horizon.
I'm not going to say never. We're definitely not planning on it.
No, it's
Something would have to change drastically for us to want to do that. Especially, like, the other point we have is that we have young kids. Ellie's still in diapers. Joseph, needs a lot of attention. So for us to be operating a storefront with our young kids, that is almost impossible.
Well, simultaneously to our online, so it's more staff, it's more just it's everything. Like, the costs would just...
Yeah.
I just don't know if for us it would be worth it for where we are, especially in life in the area.
Especially because we're both so heavily involved in the business. It would be one thing if one of us was watching the kids and switching off and stuff, but
it's not to say we wouldn't do it well if we were to do it. It's just for us, it's almost.
I don't know how well we could do it actually, because our skills are built so much better for online too.
It's really just a whole different business. It would be like a second store, and that's just something that is just not on our radar.
Yeah. So there's the long and short of it. Yeah. And then as far as, this wasn't in the original question, but I brought up pen shows too, because you're dealing more face to face. Pen shows is really just because of the traveling. Like, we just can't travel. We got kids.
Yeah.
We just can't make that happen.
They're really hard, and like I have mad respect for those who do it, especially those who they have multiple tables and they're just busy all weekend.
Yeah, we've done one pen show.
We've done it. We didn't even sell pens. We didn't even have noodlers, for crying out loud. We did it.
This was in 2010. We went back to the DC pen show. Once we had established our fountain pen business.
We enough
went
for
to the
3
DC
tables.
show, and
we even got help.
It just about killed us. It was so much work.
It was hard. We had a lot of damaged items. There was stuff that
Rachel
inevitably gets stolen.
You were still nursing Joseph at the time.
It was really. But
crazy.
Even that situation aside, we've thought, well, could we do it again? Could we bring some employees? And the work is just so daunting that I don't want to say it's not worth it, because that isn't fair to the people who do go to shows and do benefit a lot from it. For us, we did a show. We met some really cool people, but we didn't really see them translate into our ongoing customers. I think a lot of people, I got this great pen at a show. I don't really remember who from. And for us, it was...
And that's probably because it was like one show. I know there's people that do the show circuit regularly.
And
there's like people that go to all these shows regularly.
That's true.
And get it. So, I mean...
And we're not really
kind of a different world a little bit.
in the vintage world,
yeah,
so maybe
and if
that's
you're
a
vintage,
big part of it.
That's a lot of it too. A lot of vintage stuff goes on at those shows.
As I say, there usually isn't a lot of ink sold at shows, but that's because it's really heavy and it's a lot. Like, we rented a U-Haul like before, and it just it exhausts me just thinking about it. Bless those of you who do it, and I have respect for you, but our website's open 24/7.
Yeah.
And we'll ship directly to your house. You don't have to carry it home.
There you go. But really, it's for us, it's about focus. It's about focusing where our strengths are, where our skills and abilities are best suited, and that is online for us.
Yep, absolutely.
Paul Yeoman on YouTube, he said in the early days...
We'll go over this real quick, because I think we're going to run out of tape.
Oh, okay. It's not tape. Come on.
Virtual space.
In In the early days of Goulet Pens, did you have a mentor or business coach? If so, what did she help you with? If not, how did you learn how to build such a successful business on your own? Well, we really didn't have a mentor or business coach.
I don't even know how you define successful. Like, I don't feel like we've arrived yet or anything. I feel like we're still learning, and I feel like a toddler sometimes.
Success is the active pursuit of a worthy goal. That's success.
Okay.
According to Earl Nightingale. That might be a loose interpretation. It might not be verbatim there. But anyway, so yes, my parents were a big influence because they did a business when I was a kid. They were a huge influence on me, you know, huge mentors and supporters. Your parents were very supportive all along the way.
Yeah.
You know, helped us out in those early days when we literally just like did not know where money would come from.
Yeah.
They would come down and take us out to dinner and do grocery trips and stuff like that to help us get by.
Yeah.
You know, so
they
I mean,
believed in us, and sometimes that's the biggest thing you need is just someone to believe in you, support you.
Absolutely. Obviously, your dad, you know, getting us involved with the pens, his thing, you know. So it's like our parents have been big supporters all along. Families really,
my
really
sister
huge for
helping,
us.
you know, with the photography. Your sister with her marketing advice and introducing us to, you know, Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk.
My sister. My sister is at very key points in my life.
Not the actual people, but their books.
Right. My sister at very key points has introduced me to some of these businessy concepts and stuff. And her and I, you know, like to talk businessy stuff all the time. She just called me last night with Malcolm Gladwell's new book. Yeah. So, but she led me on to, you know, the most impactful single book that I've had. Books play a huge part for me. I listen to audiobooks, some podcasts, and I read a ton. I just devour business development books. But Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It, was just so impactful for me because, you know, here was a guy who wasn't doing theories. He was talking about actually doing it.
The video blog just changed Brian's
the
marketing. Like, you know, in the past it's like, oh, I'll pay Google to do some ads that will show up and annoy people. But they're so impersonal. They're so... video is it's just who we are. Yeah,
but so he had Wine Library TV. He's got like literally like a million Twitter followers. Huge in social media. Now he's really into social media, VaynerMedia. And, you know, his book to me just like completely changed the way I thought about business and blogging and really just led us on the right path to where we are now because that was kind of the epiphany for me. Like, I need to start doing videos and get pen people into video. And that was really it. And then Andy Cernovitz's book about word-of-mouth marketing, Seth Godin, Malcolm Gladwell, Dave Ramsey has been a more recent
leadership
big influence. We're actually starting Financial Peace tonight for our whole team. It's going to be really exciting. Zig Ziglar is a recent... He's a...
It's so exciting. It's like, okay, it's not that exciting to learn about budgeting, but it's exciting to get control.
Well, it's exciting,
Knowledge is power.
Exactly, yeah. Zig Ziglar is a huge influence too. I love listening to his audio podcast. He's so motivating. Earl Nightingale, Dale Carnegie, some classics there. Jim Collins, Clay Christensen, Simon Sinek. And then I'm reading Raising the Bar right now from Gary Erickson. He's a guy who started Cliff Bar. You know, I've recently gotten into cycling for the last 4 months. I'm like a cycling freak now. And I love eating Cliff Bars while I ride. And like I get it, like they're perfect while you ride. And it's like he's an avid cyclist too, does like 175-mile rides and this crazy stuff. But so I'm reading his book now. Really, really cool story. So
we haven't had like a specific mentor or business coach as far as someone who's like taken us under their wing and helped us along the way. Your parents were a huge influence. We've learned a lot by reading, just observing others. And more recently, Brian's gotten involved with the Virginia Council of CEOs. So some networking with
looking into some other organizations like
American
Marketing Association and some other stuff like that
in our community who are doing this.
Yeah, and we're about to die here, so we will go ahead and wrap up. If we haven't died already, I don't know. We'll find out. But
all right, stop talking.
Okay,
Let's wrap up.
So this has been a great Q&A. We obviously can talk about this stuff forever.
Thank you so much for watching as much as you have, and we'll see you later. Right on.
Right on.
He said there was only like 56 minutes of tape left, and that was
the battery.
40.
The battery's dead.
That was like 50 minutes ago.
It's still on, but it's pretty near dead.
Well, it was going to run out of space.
No, there's plenty of space.
He said there's 56 minutes left.
We got 41 minutes.
What?